Hello, hello, hello. This is Stevie Mills, and I am the host of The Conversation with Stevie. This is a place where we talk about the why behind the what of what people do. And I am so excited of having this conversation today because I have the pleasure of really personally knowing this beautiful guest. You know, sometimes I don't know all my guests, but this young lady I've been able to see and to experience and to talk to and really hear her heart of her story. So I'm really excited about hearing you, like seeing you all and hearing you all and your feedback of what she is going to say. So if you've ever had to deal with grief, you will want to get a pad and a pen because you want to take these notes. She's going to drop some diamond nuggets. I know she is. And without any further ado, what I want to do is to introduce Miss Sandi Boyd. Hello, darling. How are you?
Hi, Stevie. I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here. And so what we want to start off by doing is I love when people introduce themselves because nobody can introduce you like you can introduce you, right? Nobody can say the things that you can say about yourself. And I really, really would love for you to start just unveiling who you are.
Well, sure. Happy to share. Sandi Boyd, as you've already introduced me there. And if I had to really kind of introduce myself and describe myself at the core is my life's purpose is helping others to heal. And I started my professional career 37 years ago, actually, as a registered nurse working in the neonatal intensive care unit, and loved every minute of interacting with those parents as they were at the bedside, of course, worried about their precious baby. And from being the registered nurse foundation and helping others through their healing, I then grew into a long career in human resources training and development, helping others to succeed, to be able to find what's best, what their skills were, and to be able to move forward. And it was during that time that I fell in love with coaching. Coaching is all about helping others to be successful, build on their strengths, and to be able to move forward and achieve the things in life that they want to achieve, whether it's personal, financial, whatever. And as a coach, and my beginning coaching experience has been with executives and leaders in the healthcare arena. And I certainly love doing that, especially working with physician leaders that were just stepping into that role and helping them to be successful. And as I moved forward, as you know, I was a coach with Tony Robbins in one of his results coaches for a period of time in there, which was a completely different skill set around coaching than I had experienced as an executive coach. And earlier this year, I kind of had an epiphany, and that is built on this path that my son has led me on. 4.5 years ago, I lost my only son. He was 18, a few days shy of turning 19 in the prime of his life, and he passed away suddenly. And over these past 4.5 years, I've had to coach myself many a time, but I've also learned the skills and the process to be able to help other mothers, especially mothers who have lost adult children or adolescent children, to be able to move forward with their grief. My belief is that when you love somebody, that's why you grieve, is because you love them so deeply, and that's going to be a part of you probably for the rest of your life. But it doesn't mean that if you have the right tools and the right support that you can't move forward and really build a life that honors the legacy and the life of your child, and also to be able to feel that joy and be productive and purposeful again in your life. So my son has led me on this journey to work with other mothers to help them, and I still consider myself on the journey as well, and to be able to partner with them and help them in a coaching capacity to develop those skills, to be able to move away from the struggles they have around the grief and the sadness and the guilt that they feel, to really revive their spirit again and to be able to create that life that honors their child and also create a life that they can feel joy and gratitude again. So that's me in a nutshell there, Stevie.
Wow. There's so much to unpack in that. That was absolutely incredible. First off, I want to definitely, I know it's been some time since it happened, but I know that grief and loss, especially of someone who you love so much, is never something that you get over. And so definitely sending love, prayers, and condolences to you on that. And I really, really appreciate the fact that you have turned your loss into a win, and not only for yourself, but for other people who are looking to kind of battle with the whole grief thing, because we do know that grief can be hard, and there's no amount of time that will ever replace the life that has been lost, right? There's no such thing as get over it and go on with certain things. And so with that, I definitely understand. And so I want to really talk about that. Can you tell us one of your biggest wins with a client that you've experienced as far as helping someone to get over that hurdle?
I think the first perfect example of that would be helping them to give themselves permission to grieve. A lot of times in our society is built this way, quite frankly. If you have a loss in your family, pretty much most employers give you 3 days off from work, and they expect you to come back to work and be perfectly fine and pick up where you left. And we know that isn't the case. I know that I took 2 weeks off when I lost my son, and I was ill-prepared to go back to work, and I was the lucky one that got 2 weeks off. So we start with, and the client that I'm thinking of, I just remember giving her permission to be able to grieve and really what does that look like, and explore the emotions that are still there. One of the things I shared with her also is that, when you've had a devastating loss like, and for other people it could be loss of a job, it could be loss of a relationship through a divorce or a breakup. I'm focusing and working on folks that have lost adolescent and adult children specifically, but when you have a loss like that, statistics show it takes 5 to 8 years to work through that process. And who's got 5 to 8 years to give up of their life to be able to, looking in terms of your relationships with your other children and your family, or your progress and your work and your earnings, just to name a few things there. So, having that awareness and sharing that with the moms, and they're like, okay, I get this, and they also get that you're right, Stevie, you don't get over it. What you do is you move forward with your grief, which means it's coming with you. I know giving moms permission to grieve is a big one. I also talk with them about, from the word go, is one of their biggest fears is their loved one is going to be forgotten. And, I have, talked to men and women who have lost parents before, or even pets before that are so dear to them. That's one of their biggest fears, is that they're going to be forgotten. And so in the very beginning, we talk about that they are always with you. And part of moving forward is creating a life and building on that, where they are part of your life. Even though they're not physically here, they're still a part of who you are and your life. So I can remember one client that I was working with, and our conversation was around she had been in therapy, and certainly there are definitely times for therapy. My view on grief is that you're not broken when you're grieving. It's you love something and you've lost something, and therefore you grieve. But there are some people that get really stuck deep in that, and therapy is a beautiful tool for it. But this mom came to me because she'd been in therapy and she was not progressing forward. And she said, I feel like, I feel the same, we talk about the same, and I'm missing out on my other child, my son. I have a granddaughter I'm missing out on. So the first thing I did was honor where she was at and honor the grieving work that she was still doing, and gave her permission to continue to grieve and that she was on her journey. And explained to her some of the principles I've kind of shared here is that with her working with me, we were going to help equip her with the tools to be able to move forward with her grief and honor the grief and honor her child that had passed away, and to be able to really create a life legacy, including her life, her child's life, and moving forward with that and creating that legacy in her life, where, like I'm doing with my son, is I feel like I'm doing his work, the work he's led me to do with working with moms who've lost children. So that it was like a light bulb went off for this mom when I said that to her. Of course, she's like, "You get me," and I'm like, "Yes, I do get you," because I have been exactly where she's at, and moving her forward as a coach does, helping give them the tools and also holding them accountable for the actions that they want to commit. We were able to start where she was at and moving her forward in my business is Revivify Coaching, which Revivify means to start new. And I have a 7-step process that I walk my folks through that gives them the tools they need and the coaching support to be able to move forward. So her story has not ended yet because we continue our work together, but she stands out in my mind just because there was a moment in there that she realized that she could have joy again, that she could still have gratitude and love even in her sadness that she may have at the moment around the loss of her child. And that there will be moments that those grief bursts, as I call them, they pop up, and you never know when they're going to happen, but they can drop you to your knees. They're going to happen. And why they happen, we don't know. But they happen because we loved and we love deeply. So just that light bulb going off for that particular client, I remember that vividly.
Wow, that's awesome, because so many times, we as people want to just be heard. And, when you're grieving and when you're going through, it's nothing really that anybody can do. We always say the obligatory, let us know if there's anything you need. And that's something we always say. People feel like they're very comfortable to say it. However, someone who's been through what you've been through and can understand that and can give you the release of, I know what you're going through, I was you, I am you, that's a different thing. And so being able to confidently help that person because of the way in which your transition through life has happened, the different stages that you've had to go through, is such a beautiful thing. And I often say that we are our own best client. So the person who we're supposed to serve is definitely the person who we are, what we've been through, what we've overcome in our lives, and what we are truly able to have real life experience with. And I think that's absolutely incredible. And so as we begin to transition through this conversation, what I really would love to know is if there is anything, like if a lady is listening or a person is listening right now who is like, I just went through this and I don't know what to do. I can't even pick up the phone to call you, Sandi, because I'm not there. And she just happens to stumble across this conversation, what are some of the encouraging words or the insightful words that you can give to that woman?
That's a great question. The first thing I think I would say is respect where you are, and you're not broken. You love deeply, and therefore you grieve, and grieving is a journey. So there's not a beginning. There was a beginning, yes, when your grief began, but there's not an end. There's no like, okay, in the year 2025 on, Saturday, June the 5th, boom, you're going to start to feel better. It doesn't work like that. So honor where you are right now. The other thing I would also say is, if you can't pick up the phone to call like a coach or even a therapist, call a trusted friend. Most of the time I have found that people do want to listen, but they're afraid of upsetting you. And they're afraid if they bring it up and they cause you to cry that they've caused you great pain. What they don't understand is you're already in great pain. And so by you picking up the phone or texting somebody just to say, hey, you got an ear, I need to listen. The other thing that is helpful to come find like experienced folks, just to be able to share your story, not so much to move you forward, but to share your story is, look into potential support groups. Specifically, you could go out there and for whatever your loss is, you probably could find a group either virtually online or one in your hometown that you would be able to tap into. I know specifically there is the Compassionate Friends, which is for loss of a child, and my daughter and I were very active in there. It took us several months. Honestly, it was probably 4 months after my son passed away that we got up enough courage to go. And even then, it was very difficult to go. But they embraced us as moms who had also lost children, and we're still grieving. And some of them have been grieving 15, 20 years, still grieving. So, but still getting with like experienced folks may also be something that's helpful for you as well. Certainly, I would say if you ever have any thoughts of and actions towards possibly ending your life, do reach out to a suicide hotline and do get some help. I will say that there were times that the pain was so great with the loss of my son, I didn't think about taking my life, but I thought about the pain wouldn't be there if I was no longer living. That's a different thought than I'm going to end my life because the pain is so great. So if that's you, reach out immediately to the suicide hotline and get some help there if that's where you are in your grieving. So those are probably some top things that come to mind right now, Stevie, that I would share to somebody who right now is in such deep grief that they can't pick up the phone. I would also say that there are some resources on my website that they may find helpful. My blog specifically has articles on there that pertain to recognizing how the signs of grief may be playing out in your life and causing problems with your health or with your relationships, even when you don't realize that that's what's going on. Even 2% of unresolved grief can cause negative impacts in your life. So I do have some resources there. If it's a mom that's lost a child, I do have a book that I wrote for parents specifically, both parents, mom and dad. Siblings could use it, but honestly the information in there could be for anybody who has lost a loved one or a pet. And basically as we go through, I open-heartedly shared the things that my daughter and I did to survive the loss of her brother and my son. and also some questions that give you permission. For example, the first chapter talks about, when somebody comes up to you, Stevie, and says, hey, how did your loved one die? It's an awkward situation on how do you handle that. Well, in my book, I talk about some questions here. You can just say, hey, I don't feel comfortable talking about that. In the case of losing a child, it's a pretty normal, natural question I'm going to get. When I tell them I've lost an 18-year-old child, they automatically are like, what? Why'd they die? I can choose to answer that or not answer that. So in the book, it's just packed through that, and also some ways that you can honor your loved one or your pet, some creative ways that we did that really helped us to go through the grieving process. It was published a year and a half after my son passed away, so it was pretty new. We were in the middle of doing these things that I shared, so that would help anybody who is going through grieving to be able to have some things to hold on to and some actions to take that can move them forward a little bit, to feel that love and that joy for their loved one or their pet.
Awesome. And so since you shared that, I definitely want people to get that information. So what is your website link, and what is your where can we find your book?
Okay. My website link is www.revivify, which is REVIVIFY coaching.com, revivifycoaching.com, and under resources, the link, my book is on Amazon, and it's authored, my full name is Sandra Boyd, and it's called From a Mother's Heart, Strategies to Survive the Heartbreaking Loss of Your Child.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And I always love to, two things with you. I want to ask the final question, and I want to also, I know you mentioned earlier your work with Tony Robbins, and we kind of glossed through that, but I do want people to know I believe that visibility plus credibility equals cash, and so in the whole thing of visibility and credibility is a huge piece. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I do want you to hear and to read in her bio that she does have receipts. She has worked with Tony Robbins, and anybody in the personal development space knows that Tony Robbins is a giant. So that is a heck of a receipt, if I say so, for her. But
thank you. I was going to say, yes, thank you. There's a whole story behind how that came about, and it was quite, if you've ever done a Tony Robbins fire walk, and of course I've done 2 of those, going through his coaching academy, not the same as his life coaching program. His coaching academy is a completely different one. You've got to be, an expert coach to go through. It's like doing multiple fire walks, one after the other, to get hired by Tony. So it is quite an experience. And that piece I do bring into my coaching. There are some tools here that I use in there to be able to help clients to be able to break some of the patterns that they have embraced that are not serving them, that are not healthy. So there is Tony coaching in my grief coaching, although kinder, gentler than maybe perhaps Tony would do there as well.
Definitely. So, I had to bring that out because a lot of times women specifically, we don't get to talk about those amazing things, and that is amazing that you've done that. So I just love the work that is being done in your life, because it is truly something that is not only visible but is credible. Like, it's definitely credible, because I know with my the biggest loss I've experienced yet to date is with my grandmother when she passed away, and that was back, I think, in 2015, and it's actually not 2015, like 2017, I think, and that is still very tender. That is still
Yes.
very tender to my heart.
Yeah.
And so I definitely understand this whole process and what it takes, because when you have an indelible loss like that, it's nobody could take that pain away. We're human. And so the work that you're doing is incredible. And the question that I was going to ask before I asked the last one we talked about, your work with Tony Robbins, is the question that I ask every single guest who comes to the conversation with Stevie, and that is, and we're going to phrase it like that, Stevie, we cannot lead the conversation today without people knowing, and then you fill in the blank.
We can't lead the conversation today without people knowing that there is joy and gratitude that you can experience, and it can coexist with grief. And you can revive your heart to have a joy-filled life if you have the right support and the right tools.
Awesome. Yes, and you just tapped on something that's very personal to me, and it's my greatest belief in life. I always tell people my mission in life is to empower, inspire, educate, and motivate women by equipping them with the tools to succeed, rock their it factors, and love their lives. And so my greatest belief is that when women are equipped with the tools to succeed, there is no stopping their potential. And you all just heard it from Sandi. She said tools as well. That is the thing that you have got to carry in your toolkit. And so what is the biggest tool that you have right now in your toolkit, Sandi?
The biggest tool I have in my toolkit is actually one of my Tony Robbins tools, and I would call it the Power Circle. I've adapted from Tony's tools there, but it has you stepping into the powerful positive emotions that shift your focus in a positive way. It shifts your language in a positive, powerful way, and your physiology, how you're holding yourself, how you're breathing. All three of those powerful create the powerful emotion that you're unstoppable. You can create anything. So that's a powerful tool. It's the basis of human needs psychology. It's how people are able to succeed, overcome, crush their goals, is by stepping into this powerful, positive emotional state. So it's the Power Circle.
Awesome. Sandi, thank you so much for coming by the conversation with Stevie today. And I just want you to give your contact information one more time so that people can make sure. Maybe they didn't have a pen and a pad earlier like I told them, but let's give it one more time.
Absolutely. So you can email me at Sandi, S-A-N-D-I, at Revivify, which is spelled REVIVIFY, coaching.com. And my website is revivifycoaching.com. And you can also find me, Revivify Coaching, on Facebook. And I'm Coach Sandi B on Instagram.
Awesome. So you all have heard it today. We have the tools to help you. Sandi is in the helping business, and she can support you to go from where you are no matter what type of grief you've experienced. And she's amazing, just a jewel that we have had the opportunity to connect, and I'm just excited that she has stopped by the conversation. Guys, this is Stevie Mills, and I am the host of the Conversation with Stevie. What I would love to say to you is definitely connect with me just by knowing how to spell my first name, Stevii, Stevie.com, and all over social media. And guess what? If you know what I say, do not have a great day. Make it a great day. Why? Because you, and yes, you too have the power to do so. Bye for now.